You do the intro the best. I'm so sorry. This is
It's not much of an intro, but
you
okay,
know, you have like a slogan and it's like cute.
Welcome back to another episode of Minimum Rage, the podcast hosted by two 20-something-year-olds raging on about our past minimum wage jobs. Today we have Austin.
Hello, Austin.
Hi.
It's not like we were all sitting at a desk or next to each other.
Yeah, we're pretty much like in a Tetris piece, like in our back office.
Honestly, the little cubicles.
Yeah.
Austin, you're a fellow media producer.
Yes.
Here at Hurrdat.
Brand new.
1 month. Really? It's been a month already?
Today, yeah.
Has it really?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Well, you're never here, so.
That is hurtful. That's so hurtful. But honestly, true. I'm trying. But also, you should see my office at home. It's very fun.
Ooh,
but anyways.
Okay. I'm not a big home office person. I can't like configure that space to like work for me. But we just moved here. My girlfriend and I like just moved to Omaha. So like trying to figure out a new house, living together and stuff. Mm-hmm. It's a whole process.
So you're in a house.
We are in a house.
Where'd
yes.
That is so nice.
Moved from Kearney.
Okay.
I wore this unintentionally, I promise. Okay. Like, did not mean to just be like, oh, look at me, Central Nebraska guy. No, but did move from Kearney, where I was doing radio, sports directing, and sports broadcasting in that sense. So then moved here because, long story short, my girlfriend is a doctor and just graduated. So she got placed in a residency at Children's, and so that's why we're here. So so I moved for her. Okay. But yeah, it was easier said than done. So yeah.
Well, you mentioned one time that your girlfriend gets up at 5 a.m.
Yes.
So I was like, what does she do? But that's amazing.
So she works like 6 to 6 or 6 to 5. So we always are trying to like coordinate our schedule so we can actually like see each other. Mm-hmm. And you guys know that this job, like you do have a lot of like downtime and stuff at different points. Yes. And there are some times that you're able to like spend more time at home. You work from home in that sort of sense. So it's when I get the chance to do that, I try to. So that was what's kind of nice about being here is that it's much different than what I was doing before, especially in Kearney, because a lot of it was just so time centric, and a lot of it was you had to be on the spot, on the know, right then, right there, and there was no schedule. All of it was a little bit different all the time. So it's nice to actually get 8 hours of sleep every night. It's nice to actually like have times of the day that I'm coming in. It's much different, but I definitely like it a lot more than just having to randomly try to figure out my day. So
see, I'm the same way. I'm a 9 to 5 girl or 8 to 5, whatever. But like I like having my downtime.
Right.
Are you the same way?
I would say so. I don't know. I feel like every week looks so different. I feel like I get like thrown like every week I could get like added gigs. So it's like I'll be working during the day and then I'm doing stuff at night. And so I'm trying to create more space for downtime, say no to things, but it's very hard to say no.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the nice thing about this place.
Yeah.
Right.
Honestly. Let's do a little background because we don't really know you that well.
Yeah, did you plan this to like not talk to me for like the first month, and then you were like, oh, we'll just invite him on.
Yeah, it's
how we get to know people.
Yeah, exactly.
Like me and Brock are so close. We've had like 3 sentences every day for the first couple of weeks.
Much more than I've had with Brock.
Really? No, I love Brock. Brock was the very first person I talked to, other than HR, when I first got here.
Really?
And not getting in trouble. Grace, come on.
What?
HR just introduces you.
No, I know. I thought you meant like. I thought Cam would be the first one.
Well, I mean, Cam and Pat were in my interview, and then Brock was just there because I think Cam came later in the day when it was like my very first day. So, So then I was just sitting at the cubicle watching YouTube videos, just scrolling, just trying to figure out what I was actually doing.
Yeah.
But looking busy.
Did it scare you that when you came, there was like no one here to tell you what to do?
Well, no. So what's crazy about this, and again, Hurrdat, thank you for employing me. But the third floor is great. Like they show you walk around, they're like, oh, look at this ping pong table and look at all this other great stuff. And then they're like, I'm not sure where your desk will be. And then I walk down and they're like, oh, you're actually on this floor. And the like lights are off. And like there's half of the room is like in the dark. All the shades are pulled down. And I was like, oh, this is where my office is. But honestly, I won't lie. It has been actually really nice because again, like it's just such a stark difference from what I was doing before in Kearney, where, we had all the time people could like walk in, and it was just like more community oriented. It's a obviously smaller community in Kearney, so everyone feels like everyone knows each other, whether they do or they don't. And you always had to kind of like be on, where it's nice to just kind of put on my headphones and just like work.
I can just work. Yeah.
I can sit there for 7
Very
hours,
nice.
get 7 hours of work done, and not have to say anything. I'm pretty extroverted, so I do enjoy like the social aspect, but it has been pretty nice to just be able to do work when I need to work.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so real.
Yeah.
I like that. I feel like there's times to talk, but also everyone just kind of locks in.
Right.
Yeah.
So sorry, my background. Yeah. So I started in Kearney. Yeah. So I went to school at UNK. I think from trying to do my homework on this show, I feel like I'm actually a little bit older than both of you, which is totally fine, but it does make me feel like carbon dated now because everyone that I've worked with. Yeah, go ahead. Please do.
Well, you graduated in 2016.
2016.
From college.
From high school.
From high school.
Yes,
I thought it
I
was
graduated. Yeah, so I'm not in my 30s.
Wait.
Thank you.
So you're only 2 years ahead of me.
Yeah.
So you're
I'm a little
26.
bit older. Right. Well, 27.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's not old at all.
27 and a quarter, so I can go off the high dive now if I wanted to. But
Okay.
yeah, it should be good. But yeah, I graduated from UNK during the coronavirus stuff, so that was interesting. And then immediately after, I was already working in a bunch of radio fields at just kind of different rural radio stations that were across kind of that area in central Nebraska. So did news reporting, did board opping, did a bunch of different stuff that came with like technical producing of radio station stuff, mostly just audio, and then doing more content like on-air pieces. That's where I like had started. And 22 days after I was hired full-time at KRVN in Lexington, they moved me to Holdridge, where I went to a haunted station that like only employed 3 people, including myself. So it was a very, very interesting and different vibe to be like 22 or 23 and just be told, okay, run this place.
Yeah.
And
you say haunted.
very haunted.
Okay.
The person I replaced had passed away.
Oh,
and he
super haunted.
haunted me.
Wait,
yes.
at work?
On his way to get like the daily like records or something like that from the police station, he was walking up the steps of the courthouse and had a heart attack.
Oh.
So yeah. So and then his wife, which I love, Jean. She was amazing. His wife was still the secretary there at the radio station when I first started. So I replaced him, and so that was very odd at first. Yeah. So, but yeah, I got to see Randy a couple of times. He haunted me a couple of times when I get there early in the morning or late at night.
Him?
I did. I saw him twice. Yeah.
No.
Very fun. Yeah.
This is so interesting.
Yes.
I just saw a psychic recently, and so I really am like, I don't know if I believe in this yet because of nothing. I don't know. Okay, did you physically like?
I physically saw him, yes,
Whoa.
and I heard him speaking.
Oh
Yeah.
my god, to you?
Not to me. He was doing like a sports broadcast, and when I had gotten there first thing in the morning, it was super early, so it was like 5 a.m., 5:30 or something. Unlocked the door, and the way that the station was operated was that I could see like right into the first studio. So I unlocked the door, opened it, and I looked in. No lights were on, but I could see like the computer glow and like the different like it's called a wide orbit system, which is like what the programming runs on. And I'd seen that reflecting off of like someone that was sitting in the chair, and I was like, that is just my eyes. It's just early in the morning, whatever, no problem. So I get into my office, I come back, and the hallway was split in 2 hallways. One hallway had like the bathrooms and the mini kitchen and then like a back office, and the other hallway went by the studios, and it's separated by this wall. There are 2 studios with one wall with like a window barrier and the other one with a window barrier looking in that was covered with like all of the different cubicles and like different cubbies and the computer and the board and all that stuff. So when I crossed like over through that one hallway, like going towards the studio, I started to hear him talk like more and more, and I heard it getting louder, and it sounded like someone doing a sports broadcast, which is what his job was. And I remember he was wearing like a purple polo with like a red Husker like windbreaker jacket, and I could hear it getting louder, and as I turned the corner to go into the studio, it was just static, and it was just complete static in the room.
That's crazy.
So then I had told his wife like that day, I was like, I think I saw Randy today, and like told her, and she was like, yeah, that's what he would wear on game days. That's like what his outfit was. So yeah, Very
That's
weird.
terrifying.
I love
Yeah.
that even in the afterlife he's clocked
He's
in.
put in
Yeah.
the hours.
He's like,
No,
in the booth.
he was
I love-
great. So yeah,
Wow.
from what I was told, and it was one of those aspects too that like that was I had like the previous full-time job for like 3 weeks before they moved me to this job, but that was like my first experience in like a full-time job.
Yeah.
Where like you don't get paid well, you have like a lot of hours you're working and stuff like that, and you're asked to do like a bunch, but
Yeah.
that's also just how it works. Like you're in a very small town. There's only 6,000 or less people that are in the town itself. There are 4 employees in total. So it was an eye-opening experience in more ways than one, for sure.
Yeah. That's so
That is
cool.
crazy.
Wow.
Did any part of you try to like catch it in the act?
To catch Randy?
Yeah.
No.
Like videotape
No,
or anything?
you know what? What's funny is that no one's actually, I've told this story before a couple of times, but no one has ever like asked me that before. And I think the first time it happened, I was just so like kind of enamored with it that I like, first off, I had to like get into the studio to work. So I was kind of like, well, eventually we have to go in there. I can't just like not do my job. But I never thought to myself, like I should pull out my camera. And I'm not really sure why.
Yeah.
I couldn't answer that. The second time was because I was like actually terrified because I was sitting in what was the second studio looking into that window that goes into the other studio where I originally see Randy. We had just moved a bunch of stuff from one studio to the other. We were trying to use the second studio as the primary studio. And I was sitting there typing away, and the way that the monitor sits, it looked right into the window into the second studio. So I was sitting there typing away on a news story, and I look up and I'm looking at my reflection, and it takes me like almost a full like minute 30 seconds, and I realize it's not like me looking back at me, that it was like somebody else looking at me. And that again, like that sound is like what I uttered too. And so that was one that I like, and it was one of those, it was just like a movie, like I shake myself and then it was gone, and I just saw myself and I was like, oh my gosh, that was crazy. So
I want to write a movie about this.
yeah. Well, funny enough, somebody actually, and this is again the fun part about being like at that station at the time, there was a couple of kids who were Holdridge natives that they were filmmakers in Los Angeles, and they came back and they filmed a movie there. And I told them, I was like, this place is haunted, so like just know. They were like, well, we have to record it at night because it was like the summer, so you know the sun coming in and all that stuff. So they were there at like 11:30, and I was like, just know something weird could happen. Like,
Yeah. Also, the gagging when something is scary is so real. When I watch horror movies, I gag.
You gag?
It's just so scary that you just want to gag. I don't know.
No, but I get it. When you're in the moment with things, you just are not thinking.
right.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this has turned into ghost stories, but
Sorry,
Yeah, I mean,
so
well,
fascinating.
actually,
We love
I was
it.
going to say those are the last ghost stories I had, but then the next station I worked at in Kearney was also haunted, and I did.
Maybe like clairvoyant. Like maybe it's not haunted. Maybe you can just.
Are you
All
a
right,
medium?
let's pretend I'm a third grader and I don't know what clairvoyant means.
It's-
that
Just that
for
you-
the audience, for the people who wouldn't know, like what would clairvoyant be? And what's the country of origin?
Like some people can like sense the spirit realm through like visual or
Oh
like
God,
hearing.
no, not me.
Not
I
you?
just stumble into these situations. I feel like
I mean, there's
More
a
than the average
reason.
person,
Yeah.
though.
maybe, yeah.
You could be slightly. I have a friend who like I say like it's like she identifies as clairvoyant.
What a sentence.
Yeah, but it's a thing. Maybe I don't know.
I think the only thing is after all these encounters, I've definitely felt like I'm more like, I was definitely like, oh, ghosts aren't real, all that sort of stuff. I think that there's like something to it now because I've had these experiences, and I don't think I was jumpy going into it, but there is something to it where like the people who worked like at traditional radio stations, especially in that area, they were there for a very long time.
Yeah.
They worked a lot of hours, and they did like a multitude of things because they had to, because that's just what the job was, and still kind of is in certain aspects too, that it does not, I don't doubt at all that those type of like spirits would stay around because like they were just that committed to like their job. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So-
They're not out to get
Yeah.
anyone.
Right.
No.
Okay.
They're like you said, they're literally just doing their job.
I
Like they
love
just keep going
that.
back and doing their thing.
Oh, that's fun. I hope I'm doing like stand up in the afterlife.
That'd be cool.
Like I'm just
That would be
doing.
Taunting everyone
Yeah.
at the back line.
Yeah.
The-
I love that. Oh my gosh.
that's funny. Okay, so normally how we start the episodes are asking
Let's go
people.
stories.
We're 15 minutes in.
Yeah. This is how we start.
What was your very first job that you got paid for?
So very first like part-time or like full-time?
Anything,
Anything. Okay. So when I want to say it was the end of my freshman year of high school. I worked as like a day camp counselor at the community center that was in my hometown, which is Sydney, all the way out. It's like 5 or 6 hours from here. In the panhandle of Nebraska. So I vividly remember that they didn't want me to wear like graphic t-shirts or something like that. Like they didn't want like logos and stuff. And I don't really know why. I can't remember. But I just bought like a Hanes pack of like white t-shirts and I just ruined them the whole summer because like kids were like spilling stuff on them and like we're just, like going crazy and like we'd have to go over the ball fields. And like I just remember being like right then and there that I was like, I cannot stand these kids. I hate this so much. It was the worst, longest summer of my life. But then the next summer I was like a lifeguard and I seemingly forgot that most community pools are filled with the same type of kids.
Yeah.
So
like I recognize you. What was the age range that you were for the day camp?
Oh man, that's a good question. I haven't thought about that job in a very long time.
Were they like
probably
super young?
No, they weren't like infants. They were definitely like probably like third graders or below or like somewhere in that range.
That's young.
Really young.
Yeah. Because I don't know where you guys are from, but like in those type of towns, like in Sydney, if you left like your fifth grader at home, that wasn't like that unheralded. Like you didn't need to get a babysitter because like nothing ever happened in Sydney. No one ever worried about that sort of stuff. So, you would just ask a neighbor to go check on them every once in a while. Like they knew what they were doing. So it was never that big of a deal. So the daycare was mostly filled with like the youngest type of kids that
couldn't.
You just, or you just didn't want to leave it. It's like, a dog that will rip the couch up. Like you didn't want to leave your third grader at home,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I guess never thought of that. Because I've been in Omaha my whole life.
Oh, okay.
And so it's very much like all the kids.
Right.
So it was like school age.
Yeah.
Kindergarten to fifth grade.
Yeah.
That's what I did. I did after school care.
Ooh,
and
there you go. Yeah.
And I know Joslyne has some experience with.
I have one day of experience.
One day?
I quit.
Nice.
They stuck me with like 2 to 3-year-olds and I love them and they loved me. Like but I just was like 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
Like I just couldn't do it.
Right.
I respect people that work with kids though. I'm like, it's so hard.
I couldn't contain like my own emotions of like anger towards these kids at times. Or I'd be like, what do you mean you can't understand? Like, and of course, like you're 15, like you're not qualified to like work with kids either, but whatever. So
I feel like I could picture you as the sports teacher, wanting to.
That would have been cool, but no. I was in charge of like a whole group of them that like we just did activities all day long. That's all that we did. So whether it was like watching movies, taking them to the basketball court, do all that sort of stuff, and walking up and down on the trail. It was basically like I don't know if you are pet owners, but whenever you get like a new puppy and you're like, oh, a tired dog is a good dog. Like that was my philosophy. It was like a tired kid is the best kid.
Oh my gosh.
Like 5:30 could never come soon enough. So it's like just pick up these kids, please.
Yeah, that's a long day. You also said you were a lifeguard.
Was a lifeguard, yeah. Pool was a big part of young Austin's life. Loved being tan. It was the best part. You were like the cool kids club at the high school, if you could, because it was like an exclusive club of people that got asked in to be lifeguards. And so if you could work at the pool, you had the best job ever because you worked like 40 hours a week. You'd have to work some weekends and stuff, but you would come back super tan. You'd look great at homecoming. You wouldn't get sunburns during like the first week of football practice because no one else had been outside like all summer. And it actually paid like pretty well too. I remember that I worked like an entire summer, I think my sophomore or junior year of high school, and it paid for my entire like school trip to Europe like the next summer. So it was really nice. And again, like a small community, so cool stuff that they would let us do. Like the lifeguards could open up the pool at like 9 p.m. and our friends could come as long as we were there. So like just cool stuff like that. Yeah, it was a lot of fun to do that.
That
Did you
does
save
sound cool.
any lives?
I didn't save necessarily anybody because I didn't have to, but I did watch like a guy break his leg, and I watched another guy hit like the back of his head on the back of the board or something. So like his skin flapped off. So that was kind of cool. Yeah. Cause he had done like a backflip gainer thing. And I was like looking at him, and you could tell like it was so close you thought he hit his head.
Yeah.
And I remember looking like on the stand. I was like looking down at him. And I was like, "Are you okay?" And he like gives me a thumbs up, and he does this to, like wipe the hair, like wipe his head, and it just went like, boop, and I was like, "Oh no!" It was so bad.
Wild. You've
so
seen
bad.
things, Austin.
Yes, apparently.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So that's been.
That is so. What was the protocol in that situation?
Well, you get him out of the pool and you try to call an ambulance, and he was like, "I don't want to get in an ambulance." You're like, "Sir, your skin is coming off the top of your head. Like, we're not qualified to help you."
Yeah.
Like,
oh my God, that's stupid. A lot of yelling, walk.
A lot of yelling, walk. I got so elite in my lifeguarding that I didn't even use like an actual whistle. I bought an electronic whistle, like that you use for dog hunting or like how do you train a dog?
Sure.
And so you just go like, and you just like hit it at them. I always told people that I would work on different parts of my tan. So like the under parts of my arm and my palms of my hands and stuff like that, I would try to tan up. And there was a lot of fun there at the old Bertram O'Connor Municipal Swimming Pool in Sydney.
I love that.
It's funny that you said you had to be like the cool kids got to be in it because I find lifeguards very intimidating.
Oh,
because they're hot and they're cool.
They're like confident. Like when I see them walking around, I'm just like, screw you.
Well, they're usually the type of people that are always confident to like take their shirt off, which was also a very bad habit of mine. I'll admit, hand up, when I was in high school. Like when you're the lifeguard, you're tan, you like weightlift, you ride your bike, you do all that stuff. Every time that I had a chance to be like, yeah, I'll take my shirt off. Yeah, it's fine. Oh, shirts and skins, fine. That sounds good. Like, for me, it was always the people that were the lifeguards were people that like I went to high school with, and I would have to avoid. I would have to avoid the pools that they were at out of just fear of I can't have this. Yeah, I can understand that. Yeah. But again, it was just like the working with the kids aspect too, that you kind of forgot. They were like, oh yeah, it's a community pool. Like on the 4th of July when you're working and you hope that you get done with your day early or something so you can go out to the lake or you can do whatever, that inevitably some mom is just going to be like, I'm going to pay $10 to drop off my 5 kids for the entire day. Good luck. Crazy. See you later. Free free babysitting essentially.
Ooh, I would not trust that though. Around water and just dumping your kids.
That's what the lifeguards are there for. What do you mean?
Lifeguards are just glorified babysitters.
That is true. That is actually it's pretty true. Yeah, pretty true.
Crazy.
Okay, so then worst jobs.
Oh, so worst jobs are kind of like a combination of two. Technically like seasonal, partially full-time kind of. When I was in college at UNK, my family is all from a town that's just north of there in the Sandhills called Broken Bow. And so we knew a lot of people that were like in that Custer County area, and is only about an hour north of Kearney from where I was living. So one summer I still had my pool license, my manager's license from when I was in high school. And I was like, well, I can just go do this for the summer. I'll make like really good money. They were paying like $17 or $18 an hour to go do it. And it'll be great. Like it'll be just fine. I was doing my internship that summer, which was actually one of the best jobs that I ever had, but I can get to that later. And I was like, this would be perfect. Like I have nothing else really going on. And just the drive there and back every day. When you're not like in high school and you're working with high schoolers mainly, you realize that like, oh man, I'm not cool anymore. And also these kids don't care about me at all. So that was always like kind of, it's funny later, but in the moment I was like, man, I feel like I just can't do anything here. And then being in Broken Bow specifically, it was just a little bit odd because just the vibe of the town is it's very country. It's very like community, and I was not from Broken Bow. I had family that was from there, and so people like knew of me but didn't know who I was. And so like the rules were just wildly different. Like I was still taking summer classes at UNK. I wasn't allowed to like work on my classes like when I was there. And I openly was like, what else am I supposed to do while I'm here? Because all I'm doing is like managing a pool. Like it's all I'm doing is just walking around making sure the lifeguards have water and that like the pool chemicals are the right like numbers and stuff. So wasn't generally all that hard, but you just had to be certified for it. So when I first moved to Omaha earlier this year, I had the hardest time finding a job. Like this was not the job that I had lined up up at all. I had applied for it. By the time that my girlfriend and I were like looking to make the move and had finally like gotten the house and she was about to start her job and we were here, I didn't have anything lined up. So I just got blistered from trying to send out all the applications that I could. So using that basis of like being a lifeguard and being a pool manager before at like different community pools, I had reached out to a couple of pools that were like in the Omaha area and was like, hey, I could be a pool manager. I could do this sort of stuff. And ended up working at one for a month before I worked here at Hurrdat. And it was just brutal. Like it was actually like, I say that the people that I worked with were not the problem. It was just the fact that like I needed to do something different. That was the biggest issue. And I think it was more just like my mental battle of like going there every day. The pay was significantly less than what I had made at my radio job in Kearney. The hours were tremendously more difficult and I was back to being on hourly instead of salary. So, and also from my house was like a 30-minute drive. So a lot of new changes and just always coming home with the smell of chlorine sucks. Like your skin is like sticky. It ruins your clothes. It does all that stuff. And like, it's fine. I could have done it, but I was really, really happy that I could get back into doing something that I know here rather than having to just be like, okay, what am I going to do next while I was still there at that, just that community pool working there. So I'm glad it all like worked out, but that was definitely a moment where I was like, I do not need to go back to another pool by any means.
Yeah. Was it like physically taxing? Like what was like the thing that was like you hated going to at that job?
Well, part of it was, I mean, like I had to go through like different trainings and stuff because like my lifeguard certification had like expired, some different certifications had expired. So to be like a pool manager with this pool, you had to get like these certifications again. So when I did like lifeguard training, it was me and a bunch of like 16 and 15-year-olds. And so since I'd already done it multiple times and I can swim like pretty well, I had to be like the test dummy like over and over again. So I came home one day from that first day of lifeguard certification. My girlfriend was like, you look like you just got like beat up in the alley because I was like, my face was like sunken. My like arms were sore. I went to bed at like 7:30 that night and I was like, I can't move. Like I've been drowning all day. Like that's like, I don't know if you've ever done that, but it's the best workout you could ever get, just being underwater. But yeah, I mean, it was also somewhat like the mental aspect. Like I had worked really hard to get where I was going, where I thought I should be going to, and like my job in Kearney. And we always knew that this move was coming for my girlfriend and I, that we were, eventually going to meet up in the same place. And I was working towards how could I get to where I want to go next, like when we move. And so when that time came to move and I wasn't able to advance like I thought I was, I think the mental battle was like the hardest. That I was like, I am now working at a job that pays significantly less. I have to go work for people that like, it's a bad way to phrase it, but like you feel bigger than you, like you feel more qualified for, and you just had a job that I just frankly didn't like. So that was all kind of tough, but yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I'm so glad you're here. This is like,
I'm glad I'm here too. I'll tell you what.
That's amazing.
Because when I got the email back from Pat and had talked with Cam too, that was, I said it right from the beginning that I was like, I don't know what this job is. Like it said media producer and I was like, no clue what that could possibly mean. But I was like, I know that like Hurrdat was a position that like I needed to get into because this is like, it had all the things that I needed to learn. And I'm sure you guys have, well, maybe not you, Jossin, because you're never at work, but
I'm still working. Okay.
That's fair. You're still working. That's fair. But I know Grace has probably like overheard this many times that like I will openly go and like ask Cam or ask like Dylan or ask Brock like a bunch of questions. And I've even done it with you so far too, just because there's certain aspects of this place that I still don't necessarily understand. And that's like any new job, you're still like learning just environment, you're learning how to do new things. But there's like technical aspects of this that I'd never done before, even though I was working in a media company with different radio stations and radio groups. But the difference is those ones I was in front of or on camera or doing different stuff like that. This is all behind the scenes.
Yes.
And I was like, okay, so for my next, whenever like to keep propelling myself, I have to learn like these traits. So if I didn't have the opportunity to learn these because at like UNK, they didn't have video production classes. They didn't have any video elements there when I was there. So I couldn't necessarily learn all of these skills. I stuck with the radio stuff, and at radio stations, they don't care about video often. So I'd never had an opportunity to. This has been like really good. And I know like one of your follow-up questions is like, what's your best job? Like the month that I've been here has been great. because I'm learning every single day. And as cliche as it sounds, like when you say it in an interview that you're like, I love learning. So great. Like, I want to be challenged every day. Like those are always super like, yeehaw, whatever. Great. But truthfully, it has been nice that like, I feel like I can be here for 7 or 8 hours and leave and not be like, I did nothing today. Like I felt like more often than not, I have like left here and been like, I accomplished something today, or I learned something new, or I'm doing something like differently. It doesn't feel like as tasking as other jobs that I've had. So.
I agree. Yeah. Cause it's like obvious that radio is way different from podcasting.
Yes, very much.
And not that I have much radio experience. I did a little in school, but it's like, in my opinion, a lot easier because it's not live.
Right. Well,
mostly. Sometimes it is. Yes. Sometimes it is. But then also the learning aspect, you said that this is literally a learning environment.
Yes.
Like you don't get pros really here coming in. And when I applied to intern here, when I was still in school, I was like, I'm not qualified for this, but I'm just going to see what happens. And in my interview, that was one of the main points. It was like, this is a learning opportunity. Like we're here to help you, which I think is an amazing thing.
Right.
I agree. I feel like I can speak to that because I got involved with Hurrdat just like coming in to do a podcast and like doing just Jossin. And then I was like, I think I just went up to Grace. I was like, I want to learn how to do your job. And because it's like the thing of like, I was doing a lot of stuff like making content or like in front of the camera, but being like, I want to know what goes on behind or what, what you're doing. And like, Hurrdat took me from like literally nothing, trained me from the ground up. I feel like.
Well, I feel that already like in a month. Like I feel like I could go back to the other jobs that I've had in radio and just say, look at all the things you could be doing too. And I think that's the other part is that they don't have to do these things, but like, look how much more you could like get that. Exactly. And like personally, that's where I want to go because I don't want to be like a media producer forever. I want to get back into like doing content and like going and like, hopefully my career goal is to one day be like the play-by-play voice of like a Division I program of some sort. So like do football or basketball or something along those lines. That has always been my goal. That's like what I have always tried to like push for and try to grow towards. But knowing how to be behind the scenes, knowing how to do all this sort of stuff. One thing that I always prided myself on when I was at my previous full-time jobs was specifically like in the sports broadcasting. When I'm like on location, if I'm at a high school or at a college and I'm calling a game and something goes wrong back at the station, I always knew how to fix the problem and I could like walk someone through how to do that. And that was one thing that always stood out to me about like the first like month is that I'm now like having those skills where like when something goes wrong, like I can be like, okay, like this is how I correct the problem. Whereas, I mean, in the middle of August before I got here, it was legitimately, I don't even know how to open Premiere. Like I didn't know how to do any of these things. Like I had never even touched an Adobe product that wasn't Audition. And now doing all of this sort of stuff is it's eye-opening and enlightening, like in both senses. So, yeah.
Yeah. I did want to ask, because you said you were in the past more on-camera stuff.
Yeah.
So are you on TikTok or YouTube? Do you have your own channels?
I don't because it sounds really stupid, but like I never like think of myself that way. I've always thought of myself in like the traditional media, which is such a dumb thing to like come out and say and be like in 2024 to be like, oh, well, like I don't believe in TikTok. Like I think all that stuff is great. I just don't know if it's like me, that I don't know like if I know how to like brand myself on those things, especially to do like the YouTubes and everything. But again, now seeing how we do it here, I like completely see like how I've missed just like the personal aspect of like, I've missed that one spot of if I'm branding myself, I have to like kind of do that sort of stuff. So that's the next step of like making that sort of stuff and doing that. But I've done everything else that I could like possibly think of when it comes to being like behind the scenes in the radio sense of like producing shows and doing all that. And then being on the microphone as like the primary voice for different things. And now like doing the background of like all the videos and stuff and now seeing the social aspects of it. I think they're all good things to learn. Right. And those are all things that sometimes you can be told it like a million times and other times you just have to see it for yourself and you're like, oh yeah, you're dumb. You probably shouldn't have been doing this.
That's so real.
Right.
So your main, you've only ever, so it's all radio is all like.
more
kind
or
of
less.
your medium, I guess you would say.
Pretty much. I actually before I left my previous job, just because we were a Husker affiliate, we had worked with different aspects of the university athletics when it came to the Huskers. I had gotten some really, really good connections in working with people. It was always nice to be like on the inside scoop, and you did some like news reporting or breaking news and that sort of sense. So that was always fun. I got kind of a contact through someone that I had been working with to do some freelance writing for the Sports Illustrated side of Nebraska, just athletics. And so they just do like coverage and stuff, but all of it is, again, like freelance. Like I'm not on a contract. I'm not like on anything. It's basically just like, if you see something and you have time, write something.
Nice.
So you guys might have seen it too, that like I have like my other laptop half the time that I'm like, if nothing else is going on, if I seriously have nothing else to do, if I have everything else done here, I'll open that up and just like scroll and just see, is there something I can do? And if not, then like I close it and I just like fumble around and look for something else. But especially when I go home, when I first get up in the morning, I'll just type out a couple of stories and make it work. So I've done writing. I do all the different stuff like with that. And it actually picked up too. So I do the Huskers, the Oregon Ducks, and the USC Trojans now. So I do 3 for just freelance stuff. So
I have a question, and this might sound dumb because I don't know anything about how that works. So like, do you write a story and then do they like buy that from you? Like, or is it just like, I'm sorry, that's a dumb question. I just don't know how that works.
That's actually a good way to put it. So it's not like a newspaper where like I'm required to like write something, right? So they have like a team of like more dedicated people, and most of us have like other jobs. Like almost all of us are like in some other conglomerate of like media or something or another. Some people are like, hey, you're on for like 5 to 6 p.m., especially on the USC and Oregon side, because those are more populated areas than Nebraska is, where they are like, anything that comes through, you need to write like a story every like 15, 20 minutes or something like that. Just to like, we need a story every hour on the hour from like 6 p.m. or like 6 a.m. to like 7 p.m. So they bust out a bunch of stories every day. On the Husker side, basically I just hit up the guy that hired me and was like, hey, I think this would be a good story. He goes, go for it. And I've actually gotten the green light now where they don't even ask. I don't even have to ask anymore. I just kind of write a story and then they just submit it and they're like, looks good. And then they just post it. So it's worked really well. I've really enjoyed it. And it's turned me like into a fan again, because when I was like working with like Husker affiliates and being at the radio station, it's just stress because you have to get all the markers down. You have to get the timing right. You have to make sure that all of your elements are correct. You have to put in the background. You have to make sure you can take the broadcast, what sponsors are going in, all of these headaches. You have to listen so that way your signal doesn't go off the air when other people are listening. This is just fun. Like I can go to a Husker game now and just like enjoy the game, or I can watch it on TV and just smile and enjoy. It's like it's so much more fun to be on this side of it than it was before.
I can imagine. That seems so overwhelming. Yeah. Well.
So you listed off those other sports. That's football, right? Just football?
For the writing side, or for what? So it's basically anything. So I've done some volleyball, baseball. I've written a couple of basketball stories. We're just not in that season right now. So when that time comes, like we'll have more of that too. So yeah.
Okay. So I was gonna ask because Nebraska is like football mainly.
Yes, and that's I mean 90% of our stories are definitely
just
football. Yeah. So.
Okay. And then I don't like. Are you able to travel with those jobs?
No, not necessarily the freelance stuff. I mean, I can like I go, and again, like that's part of it that like I can go to Lincoln and I can go watch a game. And just this past weekend was the Colorado game, and so I sat in the stands and I was like with the fans. We were all having a good time. I was a fan, but the guy that was next to me, I just asked him a couple of questions about like his spot, and I realized like halfway through our conversation, just being like normal people and just talking, that I was like, this is like a great story. So I just like got his phone number. I called him and his wife on that Sunday, and I wrote a story, like a featured story about him, and like he had not missed a Husker football game for 25 years, and he like just talked about that and like all like how he got the season tickets and all that stuff, and it was cool. Like, in what other form of media do you like get to do something like that? Because if I was writing for a newspaper, if I was still at the radio station, I would have been up in the press box watching the game, and I had done that for 3 or 4 years at that point. And it's fine, it's fun. You get popcorn at halftime, and they have food for you before the game, and you get as much Mountain Dew as you'd like, but it's just a completely different experience than being a fan and like enjoying the game in the stadium the way that sports are supposed to be, right?
Yeah. Wow. I'm like, that's an amazing 25 years not missing.
Right?
A Husker game is like not even like a sick day. Like,
bro, he had said that like his wife's grandma had died and he sold like his tickets like the Friday before, and they were sitting around like mulling about trying to figure out like funeral plans and everything the next day, which was a Husker game day. And his wife was just like, just go to the game. You're not doing anything. Like, you're not helping out the situation. So just leave. And so he just left and kept his streak alive. So that was it was a fun story. It was interesting for sure. But I'm looking forward to doing more of it. So I'm going like this weekend, I'm going to different tailgates that have been around for like multiple years. And I had a lot of people like message me just on like Twitter and stuff, and they're like, you need to come to this tailgate, or like, we've been here for this long. And other people have like huge beef that they want to like share, and I was like, well, I don't know about that. Like, I just came for the food, so I just want to hear a story. But it's very cool. So the freelance stuff has been a new aspect of my life that I've like really enjoyed.
And I feel like it's not as much pressure. Because
no, absolutely
you don't
not.
You might have like somewhat deadlines,
right?
Because it's like relevant stuff, but you don't have like a boss,
right? And I do have someone that will like message me every once in a while and be like, "Hey, I saw this. You're usually the person who covers this sort of stuff. So if you want it, it's yours." I'm like, "Perfect, sounds good. I'll just write that and take care of it." So it's fun. It's a good time. Yeah,
that's really cool.
That is neat.
I wish I had a passion like you do.
Well, it's just, honestly, it's just sports. Like, that's all it is. Like, and I think it's so funny when people like try to separate sports and everything else, because, and I know it's easy to, because sports is like its own like unique fandom and everything, but like, it's entertainment at the end of the day, right? Like, people go to concerts and write concert reviews the same way. People do, you know, there are some people, and like, hand up, like, I went to a Taylor Swift concert, like the Eras Tour is great, but there are people that like,
you went?
Swiftie.
To Kansas City, yeah.
Yeah,
that was my my girlfriend and I's. I got her and her friend tickets together, and then I couldn't get 3 tickets together, so I bought like a 3rd ticket to go myself.
Yeah.
And I got it for like what would have been our 4-year anniversary. So then 5th year, I was like, I spent too much money last year, so we're poor. But yeah.
Wait, so did you get to sit with them?
Well, so long story short, her 2 tickets were together and good. They like walked in. My 3rd ticket that I had bought from the same site the same day, like bought it like almost immediately after I bought those ones, was a scam. The guy had given me, or like had sent me the code, but he duped me, because what he did is he kept his like initial code and sent me like basically like a front facing like scan or whatever. So it came up on my phone, but by the time that person, like that guy, whoever it was that sold it to me, took my money, scanned in, and then gave me like a pseudo ticket that I like came into the stadium for.
gosh.
And it was really funny because I'm walking in with my girlfriend, her friend, and me. They're in front of me. Their tickets scan and go. I like walk up and scan it, and it goes like immediately red. Alarms go off, and like all these security people like come up towards me, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on. Like, what is happening?
That's crazy.
Yeah. So my girlfriend was like crying and in tears, and she was like, "What are we supposed to do?" And I was like, "Well, this is for you. So like, just go." And like, I enjoyed it from outside. It was a lot of fun. So yeah, it was good.
They didn't just let you in.
No, the Eras Tour is very strict on there.
Could they not have found so that seat that was like supposed to be yours was empty?
Yeah.
Or did that guy go in?
No, that guy sold me like his ticket essentially, and then he kept the same ticket and went as it was explained to me.
I would have pulled him out of his seat. I would have been like, go get him.
Because so the reason they wouldn't let me in is because it's scanned as the same ticket. And if you remember, one of their big things was that once you're in, you're in. Like, you could not leave and you were not allowed to come back in. So once you like got into the Eras Tour, like you weren't allowed to like come back out for any reason, like even to like trade off, to get something. Like, no, you were in. And that's why, because too many people were like coming in and being like, oh, just scan in again. So yeah.
That's so tough. Also the loss of money. I know that couldn't have been.
Yeah, it wasn't that bad. Honestly, it's a good thing it happened to my tickets and not like my girlfriend's and her friends, because those ones were very tough.
Yeah.
So yeah, mine ended up only being like 350, which I was, even at the time, I was like, that's surprisingly low.
Yeah.
But the guy had a plan. So,
but that was through Ticketmaster, right?
That was through. I mean, it was. So I got them through Game Time. Because I had to buy them secondhand because I did not get the initial rush of tickets.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's crazy, because my friend, she tried to get 6 tickets through Ticketmaster, and she only ended up getting like 4. But like, she is through the whole like Ticketmaster.
Yeah, right. Where you're like a millionth in the queue or whatever. Yeah.
So I was supposed to go, but I didn't get the cut. But that's okay, because like That is a lot of money.
Yes. We are a big Swiftie household. So
good. I could talk about Taylor Swift.
Okay, well there you go.
Did you guys
start
watch
our own...
the VMAs last night?
I did, yes. Yeah, we stayed up to watch because we thought Taylor was going to perform at the end. And then instead we got the best surprise. She name dropped Travis, so that was even better.
Yes, that's true. She did. And Joslyne, you probably didn't watch, but she won the first and the last award.
Yeah, not that you
with
care.
With Post Malone.
No,
you are in your reputation era right now.
You are. Oh my God.
I don't even know what that means, to be honest. I'm so sorry. Is this like, what does Reputation mean?
It's one of her albums. It's the one that she hasn't released her own version of yet.
Yeah, okay. But it's like the dark.
Well, that one.
Oh, is it because I'm all dark?
It's like Halloween-y kind of. Oh, yeah. But
I do like her. I think she's cool. I just I don't know. I missed the boat somewhere.
See,
yeah, I did too. And I'll be honest, so my girlfriend and I have been dating for 5 years now, and I didn't realize she was that big of a Taylor Swift fan until the Eras tour started. And she was like, "We have to go." Like, I would throw myself off a bridge to be able to go to this concert, and I was like, "Okay, sounds good." Like, message received.
Yeah,
we'll figure it out.
I think I was the same way because before the tour and the Travis thing, I was just a fan. But now that she's like everywhere, I was like, I'm a big fan.
And I'll be honest, it is kind of fun. Like, it's the same thing like I was talking about. Like, people always make fun of like sports fans, and the joke's always like, oh, you're gonna put a jersey on of like whatever, blah blah.
Yeah.
Like, being like a fan of a singular artist that you can follow around and just like, now I don't want to say like you don't want to like creep on their lives and stuff, but they're a public figure, right? It is kind of fun. Like, it is like it is enjoyable to
have that. I do. It may not be Taylor Swift. I think she's gorgeous, and I love when she was country. I was really, that was like me. I lived in Alabama at the time. He was popping off.
She's waiting for debut Taylor's version.
Yes.
I think she's great. I think I missed a couple albums, and I feel behind.
Yeah, it's fair.
But
yeah. Not to brag, but I'm going on a Taylor Swift themed cruise.
Nice.
Did you hear about that?
No.
Okay, it's like through the Royal Caribbean, but they're a bunch of Swifties were able to pull off this. It's like a Disney cruise, but it's Taylor Swift theme.
Nice.
And so I'm going to that.
I'm jealous. That's very cool.
That's pretty much an Eras tour.
Basically, well, honestly,
I mean, it's a literal tour.
Yeah,
like, of the ocean.
I mean, she is not going to be there, obviously.
Well,
but
you don't know that.
of.
Not that I know of, because
that.
her last show is in Miami, and it takes off that night. So you never know. From Miami, yeah.
Maybe she just gets lost in traffic. She's like, what am I doing here?
I'll just go on a cruise.
Crazy if a whole cruise was in your honor and like you didn't just stop by like a little bit. Like just for like
a second. You ever been on a cruise?
No, I haven't.
I'm not a big fan of cruises.
Have you been on one?
I've been on a few, yeah.
What didn't you like about it?
That was when like I was in high school, and we were they used them to get us like on that Europe trip I talked about earlier. That's like where they had shipped us like from one country to the next. Is like instead of flying, we took a cruise ship like across like the seas to get over, and very weird. Not enough windows. Just very, and I understand that like some people don't want the windows because then you could get sick and like all that sort of stuff too. But like it's just very odd. It was very odd. I didn't like it, and also the food, not great. Aww. Yeah, buffet food is not for me. It's for the kids, not for me. So
right. That's okay.
But, yeah.
Well, I think that's a great way to end it on Taylor Swift.
On Taylor Swift.
Why not?
I know.
Yeah. I know you don't really care.
I do. You know what? I'm supportive though.
Yeah,
I'm supportive.
You're a Swiftie ally.
Like I am, and I think it's fine.
You're a Swift ally.
Yeah.
Nice.
Is that what they're called?
Oh, no. I don't know.
I just support women being successful.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. A Swift supporter then.
Yeah.
Much better. Yeah.
All right. Well, Austin, thank you for joining us. Do you have anything you want to plug?
No.
Okay.
Read the Huskers on SI. Read the Oregon Ducks on SI. Read the USC on SI. So that's my stuff. I do also like freelance sports broadcasting and all that sort of stuff too. So if anyone wants to get in touch with me, Twitter is usually my best form. It's at Austin to Jacobson, SEN at the end.
Okay.
And then you can also email me, but DM for inquiries, as the kids say.
Nice.
Yeah.
If I have any sports questions,
please.
You're the first.
Yes. Yeah.